Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. Well, this one might not be a full range report because number one, this is an old firearm and I don't really have a lot of ammunition for it. So I definitely want to take this thing to the range and shoot it, but I don't want to wear it out and I don't want to endanger it in any way. I want to make sure it is safe for its owner. So this is a Winchester Model 1894 that was made in 1912. So as of me filming this video, this gun is 110 years old. Isn't that amazing? And this really goes to show the durability of firearms. Because, you know, anti-gunners today say, well, we're going to ban things, but you can keep them and grandfather the ones that we ban. Well, those guns are going to be around for a very, very long time. And I don't think anti-gunners understand that. After all, as I said, here we have a gun that is 110 years old. So I am going to shoot this. I am going to take it to the range. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this gun and what I learned about it because I'm not really an expert on all of these lever guns, and I'm sure there's some people that do follow my channel that can tell me a lot more about this gun that I'm going to share with you, and I think that's fantastic, and I hope they share that knowledge in the comment section below. I'm also going to tell you about the things I like and don't like about this gun, just like every other range report. But before I do, as always, I want to thank the people that make these videos possible. First and foremost is the owner of this awesome gun. He is a local subscriber and friend of the channel, and you've heard me talk about him before. His name is Matt M. So Matt, thank you so much for letting me shoot this awesome heirloom and antique firearm. I have never shot anything this old before, so it's going to be a great experience. I want to thank my Patreons as always, because you guys know, even though I'm reviewing a lever action gun, YouTube thinks I'm a bad boy and they always demonetize my content. So through their monthly donations and support, they help keep the lights on around here. And as always, I want to give a huge shout out to my primary sponsor for every one of these range reports, because he helps me acquire ammo for all these guns I shoot, and that is my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And so if you're watching this video, I know that you like quality guns, especially ones made of steel and wood. Guns like 1911s. Well, if you have high quality 1911s, you need a set of high quality grips, and I have the perfect company for you. This company is Brownworks. Brownworks makes high quality and fine wood grips for a wide variety of firearms out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. Not only does he make grips for guns like 1911s, but also Beretta 92s and the entire CZ family of pistols. Mark over there is an artist. He's a master craftsman. He is always adding new things to his product line, including wood grips for AR-15s. I know, if you want wood grips for AR-15s, Mark is the place to go over at Brownworks. Go check out his website. I'm going to put a link in the description below as well as a pinned comment. I'm going to ask that you guys go over there, check out and see what he has to offer. I know you will not be disappointed. I'm also going to put a discount code for 10% off your first order. So go over there, see what he has. If you don't find what you're looking for, make sure to contact him. And when you do, tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so what in the world is this? I've already told you. It is a Winchester Model 1894, and I think in many circles people just call this a Model 94. Now this is actually a pretty special one, not only because it's old, but because it's made in the original way. It's a pre-1964 Model 94. So a lot of people think that this is the more collectible and desirable version of this firearm. And for a lot of people, they think that this is peak lever action. And by that, it means that they made a lot of these. It still has the tubular magazine. I believe it was in 1895 when John Browning came up with the magazine-fed version of a gun like this. And I don't think it was as popular. They made over 7 million of these in their production run all the way up until 2006. And I even think that there is a company in Japan that makes them and imports them to the United States under the Browning name, but Winchester discontinued them in 2006. And as I said, they made 7 million of these, and these were considered a very desirable and well-built sporting rifle. So the main market for these guns was hunting. One of the advantages to the 1894 was the elongated receiver, allowing more powerful and longer cartridges to be chambered in this. Now, the cartridge that this gun is chambered in is 30-30, and historically that is a really interesting caliber. It's not the original caliber that the 1894 was chambered in, but it was the first caliber that was designed with smokeless powder for Winchester. Yeah, very interesting. The original chamberings of this had black powder, and they offered the 30-30 and smokeless powder. So this was made in that transition time when we still had black powder and smokeless powder was coming into vogue. And it's very important, if you have a gun chambered in a caliber that can be both black powder and smokeless powder, you gotta make sure it is marked on the barrel for smokeless powder. Otherwise, you could blow the thing up. It's really important to know that. But yeah, this is 30-30, a caliber that I really have not a lot of experience with, so I was really excited to get to shoot it. It's supposed to be a magnum caliber, but not overly powerful. When it comes to modern lever action guns that are chambered in 30-30, they have a ballistic advantage over .357 Magnum, which a lot of other lever guns today are made in. In fact, my personal lever gun, which is a Henry Model X Big Boy X Series, chambered in .357 Magnum. This is an awesome gun. It's a pretty light hitting gun as compared to the 30-30. So it's a very relevant design. It's still liked and adored today. It's a high quality firearm. And who doesn't love a lever action gun? It is like driving a stick shift when it comes to cars. Yeah, automatic transmissions are awesome. Paddle shifters are awesome. But there's just something about driving a stick shift with a clutch. And when you fire one of these things and run this action, you feel the history. You just feel the mechanical awesomeness that is a gun like this. These guns were so popular that the 1/millionth Model 94 was presented to President Calvin Coolidge. The 1.5 millionth was presented to Harry S. Truman, and the 2 millionth was to Dwight D. Eisenhower. So Winchester gifted these guns to presidents, and that's probably back in a time when the presidents would have accepted an awesome gift like this. I don't think Joe Biden would even touch one of these or want to be around one anymore. But it's really cool that those were given to the presidents. And so these are just really admired, very sought after, awesome, well-built firearms, and of course, it's a John Browning design. Pretty much the king of firearms design, the man that divided firearms into two eras, the ones that came before him and the ones that came after. We owe so much to him, and once again, a lot of people think this is peak lever action, and I know a lot of people have gone hunting and taken a lot of deer with firearms just like this one. Overall, this example is pretty fair to good, I would say. Definitely the receiver has a lot of missing bluing, but the barrel itself is in pretty good shape. It has withstood the test of time. I do not believe that this firearm was mistreated, but I definitely think it was stored in maybe a less than desirable location. We had just a little bit of surface rust, and I did clean out the action of this gun before I took it to the range. The only thing on this firearm that does appear to be missing, and I double checked that it would still be safe to shoot, is we do have a missing pin right here, which would go into one of the arms in the action of the gun. But a lot of people said it's easily replaced, and if you're missing one, it's perfectly fine. So that was just the only concern that I had, and based off of its age. But the action, all the springs seem to be very strong. The stock is held on here really well. So I wasn't really worried about the safety or shooting this particular firearm. So what do I like about this gun? Well, I've already mentioned a few of those things. Number one, it's a John Browning design. Yeah, it's a John Browning design. You just gotta love that. Number two, it has the King's loading gate. Now, pretty much every lever action firearm has the King's loading gate, with the exception of some of the Henrys. You know, one of the things I was really happy that Henry did, the modern Henry company did with their guns, is finally added the King's loading gate on their rifles as well. It was always a pain in the butt to have to take off the tube in the front. I know it's the original design, but it's like, come on, everyone appreciates that loading gate. It makes loading these firearms so much easier. The last thing I really like about this gun is the octagonal barrel. Now, I don't know if that's going to come across on camera there, if I can get this thing into focus, but it has an octagonal barrel. That is just so classic and so cool. And if I owned one of these, I definitely would want a barrel just like that. So now let's talk about a couple of things that I don't like. And it's important to know that I'm talking from a perspective of a modern gun enthusiast. And I know that when this gun was made, things were quite different. And I shouldn't really have the expectations that this gun would meet modern standards. But I just want to talk about two main issues I have just handling it here on the workbench. First is the sights. I can't believe that you would have such an accurate rifle and a well-built rifle with such teeny tiny little sights. Now, I've shot original 1911s from World War I, and they have super small sights too. I guess people back then were just expected to have awesome eyesight, but man, modern sighting systems are so much better. Even just a basic 3-dot sight that's a little bit bigger, so it's a little bit more visible so you can see it, is definitely the way to go. The other thing that I don't like about this, and it does kind of concern me shooting, is the pointiness of this stock. Now, this is the way stocks are made for a very long time, and they're supposed to dig right into your shoulder. But if you don't conform to this shape, well, these little pointed edges can kind of dig into you a little bit. I really like more modern stock designs, not just because they have a little bit more padding, but because I think the shape is a little bit more ergonomic. Now, do I think this is going to be an issue when I shoot it? Well, not really, but if the angle of the stock is a little bit off, it might be a little bit uncomfortable. It's like shooting a Tommy gun. If you ever shot a Tommy gun, the angle of those stocks are not really conducive to being shot from the shoulder and getting a proper sight picture like we think of on an AR-15 or an AK-47. You really shouldn't have a cheek weld on that, so it kind of feels a little bit weird. I'm kind of wondering if that's what's going to happen on this particular rifle. So, I've talked a lot about this and kind of gushed over it and talked about how cool and awesome it is. Well, let's get this thing to the range. Now, for this range report, I only have 20 rounds. That's it. I don't even want to put any more through this because it's such an old gun. It's such a classic gun. But we're going to shoot 20 rounds through this thing in 3 different sessions. So first off, I'm going to make sure the thing doesn't blow up and I don't die. So I'm going to set the target out at 15 yards, load this thing up with just 5 rounds, and hopefully, as I said, it's not going to blow up. We're not going to have any issues, no misfires. I just want to make sure it is safe to continue shooting. So, as I said, here's 5 rounds at 15 yards. All right, well, I'm still here and have all of my fingers, so we're going to say that is a success. Now, that grouping was not so good. These sights definitely do suck. Now, I've never shot 30-30 before. I was really impressed by it. It's definitely a hard-hitting caliber, but it's like a 45. It's more of a thud than like a sharp recoil, so I'm definitely going to have to look into some 30-30. I was really, really impressed with it as a caliber. I was also really happy the fact that I didn't see any keyholing. I did look down the barrel of this particular rifle, and it does seem like the rifling is still pretty sharp. So I am impressed with that, especially after 110 years. Well, now that I know this thing is probably safe to shoot, I'm gonna load another 5 rounds in it and try to shoot it at 25 yards. Now, my group was not very good at 15, so what do I expect at 25? Well, these sights are not that great. But let's see what happens, how I do now that I'm kind of getting used to it, and see if I have any other issues. All right, well, that group is better. I'm definitely getting used to this. You know, I am really impressed with this 110-year-old trigger. Now, I'm not really going to dry fire it. I'll just lower the hammer, but that trigger feels pretty good. I'm really impressed with it. I like that trigger a lot, so good for Winchester. It just goes to show that the old stuff was made with high quality in mind, and it just shows. I mean, this gun is 110 years old and still shoots really well and has a really nice trigger on it. All right, well, now that I know this gun is safe, I want to have a little bit of fun with it, because who doesn't love just running these actions? It's like being like an old Western. I love it. So I'm going to load up this tube to full capacity, shoot the rest of the ammunition that I have some fun with it, and then I'll give you guys my final thoughts. And I can truly understand why this is probably the AR-15 of its time. This thing is awesome. You know, all these lever guns are the guns that they said you could load on Sunday and shoot all week. And I know in the 19th century, that was amazing. We're used to higher capacity firearms today, but this really was a game changer. And when you bought a Winchester, especially one that was designed by Browning, well, you knew you were getting something special, and I understand why these were and still are such coveted firearms. You know, even though this gun is in fair condition, I would highly recommend that the owner of this, Matt, actually spend some time restoring this, whether he does it himself or send it off. Now, I don't think it would actually hurt the value of this gun, even though it's really old, because they made 7 million of these. There's a lot of parts out there and a lot of guns out there. It's not like this is a one-of-a-kind firearm. And I think that when it comes to its condition, it's pretty darn good. And having a nice resto job on this would really bring this gun back to life and probably make it last another 100 years and actually pass it down as a working heirloom to his children and his grandchildren. This thing is just awesome. And I am so humbled that I got to shoot it. It's really, really cool. And it's really neat because when it comes to my personal Henry, I have a lot of fun with this gun. I really need to do a range report on this thing, but it's an awesome firearm as well. And really, internally, it's exactly the same. Okay, the action's a little bit different. This is the Henry action versus the Winchester. I do know that, but I'm just talking about the action of it being a lever action, the way that it shoots, the way that it feels. You just feel like you're holding and shooting a piece of history. And even if you don't want to invest in an older one, buy one of these newer ones made by Marlin or made by Henry. And I think there's even an Italian company that makes them. Is it Uberti? I'd have to look into that. They're just simply fun. They're more than range toys. I think that they are practical for self-defense. I think they're practical for hunting. And in a place maybe where you can't have a semi-auto, these lever actions can run really, really fast. They're very practical even in today's world of semi-automatic rifles. This is just an awesome gun that stands the test of time and truly is American. I mean, this is one of those guns that you look at and go, that is American. Oh, something else I should mention, this gun was used and fielded by a couple of other countries during World War I. I believe it was the French, and even the English used them on ships, and the Canadians used them on the West Coast, and they armed Rangers in case of Japanese invasion with rifles just like this. So, yeah, so it does have a little bit of military provenance as well. Just a cool gun with a lot of history and a lot of cool symbolism. So what do you guys think? Does a lever action like this intrigue you? Do you own one? Do you want one? I'm glad I got my Henry, but I can tell you I'm jealous of Matt. This is such a cool gun, and if I own this, this would definitely be a restoration project. I would love to breathe life back into this. I think with a nice bluing job and somebody that really knows what they're doing, take this gun completely apart, put in new springs, put in new screws, and have this professionally finished and blued again. Maybe someone take a look at this stock and refinish this stock. Man, it would be just an awesome, awesome gun. So that's what I think about this. It's not quite a full-fledged out range report, but it's still an awesome gun to talk about and show off. So what do you guys think? Do you like this? I know I do. Let me know if you learned anything in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.